Hey everybody, how are you doing today? Welcome to another episode of Out of Our League. Today we have an awesome guest, a special guest. He's from, well, Australia. I don't want to make any dumb jokes. Um, so anyway, before we introduce this wonderful guest, McKenna, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing today, Phil?
I'm doing quite well. A little food deprived, but that's my own fault because I didn't have lunch. But I'm doing quite well other than that. Um, It's so weird not having anybody else to introduce. Usually we have like three people to at least bring up. We'll blame Ben. We'll just blame Ben for
Let's blame
everything.
them. I agree.
Um, Ben, I know you're out there doing amazingly important things, and I'm sad that you can't be here today. We will put a little logo up in the corner of your icon just to act like you're that floating face in the void. We won't actually do that, but I just want to throw out your name and make sure that you know that you're loved and you suck also at the same time. But on to our special guest. You've probably seen him around Twitter, the Kind of Funny community. You've seen him on YouTube. Hopefully, you've seen him on Twitch. He makes incredible content. You classify yourself as like an RPG content creator, which we'll get into that in a minute. But it's NorZZa TV. How are you today?
Hello. I am good. I'm doing well. Thank you for inviting me on the show. You could have made any Australian joke you liked. You can call us whatever you like. Kangaroo Land, Down Under, whatever you feel like. It's all good.
I thought about it, but then I was like, you know what people don't do? They don't sit here and not make dumb jokes. So I figured we'd allude to it and then just not do it.
Yeah,
and that would be
that's
different.
Fine. Yeah, that's fine. We don't make dumb jokes on this show. This is very serious content here. It's simply sassy.
100%.
No
I
sass.
think that is obviously not true, considering all the dumb jokes that I've already made. But the introductory question to every episode is, who is NorZZa TV? Who are you? What are you doing? What's your goal? What's your objective? And yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot to unpack in that. But so NorZZa is me. It's a nickname that I've inherited for a long time, and that's kind of where it originally came from. It was an alias that I came online, and now a lot of people just call me NorZZa in real life as well. But the YouTube channel is based around creating educational guide content for RPGs. The latest RPGs. Whenever they come out, I've usually got tips and character builds and all other kinds of guides and anything that you could be looking for. And yeah, that's kind of what the brand is and what I do.
Yeah, I know. I really started to watch your content when Valheim came out. That was like spending late nights kind of watching Valheim, exploring that world and seeing all the cool things that you could do in it and getting hit by giant trolls and everything like that. And I've been a fan ever since. It's been a lot of fun to check out your content here and there when I can, and I think you're doing some good stuff. I love the fact that you have well-produced YouTube content because I don't oftentimes get the chance to catch a stream. Um, Unfortunately, with different time zones and schedules, especially when it comes to the East Coast or European folks, it's just really hard. It's a little bit different for you because you're more like an early schedule than a late schedule for me. Like, obviously, it's a little bit later, but generally, I get to catch a few hours of New Zealand or Australian content if they're doing it early in the morning, especially because it's like right off when I get off from work and stuff like that. But it's still so nice to have that YouTube content to go back to and actually get to check stuff out that I might miss.
Yeah, no, it's always hard being on the other side of the world to everyone. YouTube's definitely my primary thing. Like I've recently shifted away from Twitch and I'm only really on YouTube these days. But I post videos like the time that I schedule videos to go live. It's actually 2 a.m. my time, so I'm completely asleep. It's the dead of the night, but it's prime time everywhere else in the world. So that's kind of what happens there, and it's always tough. And from conversely, I definitely see the other side of trying to catch other people's live content. Usually they're ending when I'm waking up, or they've had a 4-hour live stream during my sleep time. But it's tough being on the other side of the world, and it's like, you know, right now we're all recording in different time zones, and it's like lunchtime for me, it's dinner for you. Like it's time zones are a funny thing.
Right. And while we're talking on the subject, McKenna, I believe you have a community question that kind of revolves around the YouTube space that I think is really relevant
Yes.
here.
This is from Joe Medforce at Joe Medforce. And he asks, what's your top advice for anyone looking to improve their YouTube output and reach? I know I need to create more for the platform and build my presence there, but I found it difficult to be consistent and know what videos perform best.
Mm. I would say the first thing is to not necessarily worry about what performs best, because you'll get yourself stuck in a loop of trying to make the best content. And I don't think that the best exists. You're better off making something than nothing. I would say to stick to, when I was first starting out, the goal that I set was to stick to a regularly uploading schedule. And that was a Tuesday for me. So every Tuesday I would have a video go out, regardless of if it was top tier quality or it was terrible. There was always something coming out. And then the more you make content, the more you start to understand the algorithm, you know, descriptions and tags, and you can look at the analytics and see how things are performing, why they perform better or worse, and you can kind of dig into that information, and then that'll help you make informed decisions in the future. But the main thing is to just make stuff, puts things out, fill out the description, fill out the tags, fill out, you know, the title, thumbnail and stuff. Like, look at your impression rates. So your impressions are, you know, when video gets shown to someone, that's an impression. You want to see click-through rates, you know, how often people are clicking on it, and then try and figure out, you know, try different thumbnail styles, titles, etc. See how you can get more people to click on them, because that's the ultimate goal with YouTube, is getting that sweet click and people watching your content. But yeah, it's an iterative process. I don't think there is a right or wrong answer to trying and doing anything, and just kind of learning as you go. From my experience, I've tried a lot of different titles and thumbnails and descriptions, and change different things. And you know, I've always just found that the best thing to do is just look at the content you make critically, and just keep making content regularly, and then just keep trying to iterate and improve. There's always time to learn.
Now, a couple things. First of all, I love the font that you use in your thumbnails.
Yes.
It's really cool. It's eye-catching. It's different from some of the other stuff that you see. So I just want to throw that out there. But earlier you mentioned your videos going live at 2 a.m. your time.
Yep.
Now, I have no idea like what that is for like my time, but is that literally because you see the most active users clicking on the content at those times?
Yeah, pretty much. So YouTube gives you natively now. I used to use an extension called vidIQ, which is a great YouTube extension. But YouTube natively now, if you go into your audience, you can see their most active times on YouTube, and that's at the very start of a high bracket for my audience, where they're mostly on the platform. So that's why I post my videos then. I used to get a lot of anxiety for posting videos while I was asleep, because I was just worried that the content was bad, people would hate it, or, you know, I'd screwed something up, like just made a mistake and I wasn't, you know, awake to fix it. But I've kind of got past that recently, and so that's why I upload it at that time, because it's like the peak time for my audience.
And then, as far as you said, you upload something every single week, no matter what the quality is, or you know how it's edited, or whatever else. Um, how do you like? Because I assume you have a job outside of this, right? Some.
I did. When I Until this year, I was working full time, um, and did like an on-call service. So basically, holding a phone for 24 hours for a whole week. So if the phone rings, you've just got to. It could be 2 a.m. You've got to actually go and do work. And so I used to work in IT as a system administrator for a financial institution here, and yeah, and I ended up quitting at the end of 2020 to focus on making my own content, as well as going to uni to study media and communications.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations on being able to do that. That's incredible. When you did have a job and you were working, by the way, on-call work is kind of one of the
Terrible.
hardest things, because you're always anticipating. You never know. Like, so my brother-in-law is on call, and literally can't really make plans at night because he could get a call at any time. So if he goes out to see a movie, or he goes out to dinner with friends, or goes to a bar or whatever else, if he gets a call, he has to go right as soon as that call comes in. So it's almost easier sometimes to just not.
Yeah, you are 100% right. I would just not do anything for that week. I wouldn't schedule to do anything. Just stay home. Just wait for the phone to ring. And you know, there's a lot of, I guess, pre awareness that the phone is going to ring as well. It's really hard to sleep right and actually relax when you're just holding this phone and expecting that I could go to sleep now, and then at 1 a.m. the phone's going to ring and I'm going to get no more sleep for the rest of the night. It's really hard to kind of decompress and enjoy yourself while you're not actually technically working. But it's stressful. Like there were multiple times when I used to play basketball and the phone would ring during a game. You're like, oh well, see you guys, and away you go. You know, sit out in the car and log in remotely to work and try and fix whatever it was and hope that you can get back on the court before the game's over. But you know, it's a chaotic experience being on call for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But the reason I bring that up is, how did you co-manage having a job and content creating and enjoying the content you were making?
It was tough. There was a lot of times when I would be up till like past midnight making videos because like I knew I had to get a video out for the Tuesday, and that was my goal. That was what I would stick to regardless if I was up super late. And the quality was definitely not as good as it is now that I have the time, and I've also got an editor now, Shotgun McBain, who's fantastic. So credit to him for fixing all of my terrible editing. But
He'll come up again
he
later.
but yeah, so before I had him, it was a lot of work managing it, and you know, there's a lot of time involved in playing the games to actually be able to make the guide content as well. And I've also got a partner that you know you got to spend time with and enjoy as well. And it's was tough to balance, and I don't think there's a real answer of how to do it. You've just kind of got to prioritize what's most important at that time, and you know, you set yourself achievable goals and just try and focus on what you need to do.
It's awesome. Now, you have over 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, that's no mild feat. Um, where would you say that you found the most growth for your channel, and do you think it's just the schedule that you've set for yourself, just making that content every week? Do you think it's the content you choose to put up there? Or do you think it's just luck?
No, I don't think it's luck. I don't think there is some minor element to luck to YouTube, but I think that's overstated in a lot of regards in terms of success in content creation. But my content is very YouTube search orientated, because it is guides and character builds and that kind of content. So it really comes down to most of my growth will be seen at like the start of a game launch. So, you know, using New World as the most recent example, I have to have content prepared and ready to go like as soon as the game comes out or as close to launch as possible. And you know, just pump out as many videos as quickly as I can. Then it gets picked up by the YouTube algorithm and the search, and then that generates people in. But you know, for me, I don't worry too much about the subscriber count number because my audience is very like search based. Like that's where I'm really funneling people from, is just from searching for things. What matters to me is in the analytics. There is, if you look at your audience again, there is a returning viewers metric, which basically just tells you over a period of time, you know, how many people have watched multiple of your videos. And that's what's important to me, seeing that number go up. And at the moment it's at about 33,000, whereas
Yeah,
my subscriber count's at 10. And so seeing that number is what I value more than the subscriber count.
I've definitely noticed that you have a higher view count a lot of the time than your subscriber count, which is honestly, that's really awesome to see. A lot of the times, at least for smaller creators and bigger creators, you see a higher subscriber amount than people actually viewing the videos. I mean, Kind of Funny is a great example of a company that has are they up to 1 million? I feel like they just passed 1 million not too long ago. I don't remember off the top of
Yeah,
my
I'm not
head.
sure.
But anyway, they have quite, it might be 100,000. I may be overinflating it quite a bit. But they have quite a few subscribers on the Kind of Funny channel, right? but they only average like anywhere from 12 to 30,000 views on YouTube, which is crazy to me. And yes, I realize that their content is available in a lot of different places. So that obviously splits the user base quite a bit, where you are primarily focused on YouTube and YouTube only. Um, so I know that changes the metrics a little bit, but that kind of rule of thumb goes for a lot of different content creators, not just Kind of Funny. They're just the only example I could think of off the top of my head. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's really cool to see. And so you attribute it mostly to consistency and the content that you choose to produce and the type of content that you're making.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's my content is based around timing of for game releases and putting out those guides and everything, and there is a huge element to timing that content right and being one of the first people to make a guide for a particular game, because you get the benefits of YouTube picking that video up before anyone else's. And it's different that, for Kind of Funny, like their content isn't based around YouTube search, like mine is. They're much more of a personality based channel, and their core audience is across many different platforms. I'm a podcast listener. I listen to their podcast. I very rarely will click on one of their YouTube videos, but I am subscribed to their YouTube channel, both of them. Actually, I may be subscribed to Kind of Funny Plays as well, but I'm subscribed to most of their channels, but I never watch them. I listen to the podcast, and there's tons of people that'll be like that in that group. And none of their videos are really trying to hit any kind of trending or pop off in the YouTube search algorithm by any stretch of the means. They're really making those videos for their existing core audience, and there's tons of channels out there like Kind of Funny that see success from that.
It's awesome. So what made you want to make the move to specific YouTube content? Was it getting too much to do streaming while trying to make content? Or was it that just kind of became more of your passion?
Would say a little bit of both. So, like, I started streaming in 2019 when I really started to make the YouTube stuff a bit more serious and really try. I don't want to say try, but I would. It's pretty accurate. I would say try hard and stick to a schedule and everything. And as time kind of developed, I grew very rapidly on YouTube and felt more married to that system, because it's just like I'm a very analytical person. I like analytics and I like to understand why things do X and Y and like really drill down into the details. And Twitch has like none of that, whereas YouTube is like you can get lost in the YouTube studio looking at analytics. And I found that really rewarding to look at something, try and figure out why something worked or didn't work, and then iterate and improve on from there. And from the Twitch side, like it's, I used to stream a lot more, and then I kind of eventually started to slow that down to a couple of days a week. And I was finding that, especially now, trying to do uni, make content all the time, make content that I'm making, as well as have videos prepared to send to my editor, to have him to do stuff as well. There's a lot of different things that I'm juggling, with all like uni takes up so much time outside of work. It's not just like with work, you work 9 to 5 and then, away you go. Whereas, other than the 24-hour on call stuff, but, I've got assignments and things I've got to do, and that just requires so much time as well. And I've kind of found that with how YouTube was growing and Twitch wasn't, that, I wasn't providing enough value on that platform to my audience. I have a core group of guys there that were always there for my streams, and like I love them for being there, but I never felt like I was providing enough value. So that was partly why the move to YouTube permanently, and I'm still going to live stream on there. And I just feel like, from an audience perspective, if you're watching me on Twitch, not really heaps is going to change to watching me on YouTube if you're just watching my live content. But on that platform, I can, I'm always there. I've got videos coming out weekly. I've got a membership video that goes out every month just to like my YouTube members. I've got other benefits for like members. I always just felt bad on Twitch for like, people who were supporting me financially, and I love them for doing that, but I never felt like I was providing enough value to them. And that's partly why I've kind of made the move as well.
Earlier, you mentioned needing to get guides out there as soon as possible.
Yep.
And recently, Metroid Dread came out, and I was seeing some really small YouTube channels create Shine Spark guides and getting like 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 views because they were the first ones to get these videos out there. and helping people, figure out these Shine Spark puzzles in Metroid Dread. And it actually made me think about that because they have 23 subscribers on their channel, but then this one video blows up and gets 23,000 views. Um, when you're making guide content, what exactly is your goal? Like these Shine Spark puzzles in Metroid Dread are like, I don't know, 2 minutes max, generally speaking. But you're doing like full in-depth guide videos that are not like crazy long, but they're longer than that. Um, and how, I mean, like, how hard is it? Like, what's okay? Let me back up here. What's your kind of process for going? I want to make a guide on this specific thing, and how do you execute that plan?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing that I'll do for any game that I'm covering is make like a general tips and tricks video, basically of cramming as many. I try to stick to my videos to about 10 minutes max,
Right.
usually around the 8 minute mark. And something that I find from watching other people who make similar guide content is that they have like a 2 minute intro and then they only give you 5 tips and the video is 10 minutes long. And, you've just kind of wasted your time. And something that I've always tried to do is keep my intro as short as possible and then cram as many tips into that 8 minutes as possible. So like, trying to value your time and give you, 20, 25, however many tips in just a short amount of time possible. And so the way that I kind of go about any game is the first thing that I do is play the game until my eyes bleed because I've got to play it as much and as fast as possible so that I can understand the game to a level that I can talk about it comfortably. And while I'm doing that, I'm usually writing on my second monitor. I'll just have like a Google Doc open and I'm just writing different, things that I've found or things that have confused me as I'm playing. Like, any game you play, you have those moments in the first few hours that you just kind of think, oh, how does this work? What is this? And, I would just write all of that stuff down and then that'll eventually become the basis of the first video. And then depending on the game, there's the main other thing that I will always do is like character builds. So, for something like New World, you've got builds for using different weapons and things like that. And for CRPGs like Baldur's Gate 3 or Pathfinder, their class guides of, how do you level up this class and what spells and attributes and etc. to kind of pick to maximize your character. And depending on the complexity of the game, I'll have specific things for specific mechanics that they have. So, New World has a lot of PvP stuff, so I might do something specific around that, or just general things that come up in games that might confuse people. Something that for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous that I did last month is they have this mythic path system, which is pretty unique to the game. So I made a video just entirely discussing the different mythic paths, how to unlock them, and basically what they are, and just trying to find those things that people would be interested in, and then if it's enough content for a full video, then to kind of cram as much in there as possible.
And then, so I told you we'd get back to this a little bit later, but you mark yourself as an RPG content creator, and how do you choose what games you want to play? Do you just look at the games that are coming out, or do you look at opportunities that you might have? Like, I don't know if you can talk about your relationship with publishers and distributors and stuff like that, but like, um, you email someone and you get a code early, and do you make your decision based off getting that code early? Do you kind of plan it out and go, this is the next game that I want. Hopefully I can get it early, but if not, I'm still going to make guides for this content, etc. Like, how do you choose what games that you're going to be making guides for and playing?
Yeah, so I have a content board that it's basically just a Trello board that I use to just like manage my workflow, and on that I have a tab which is specifically for game releases that I want to cover. So I usually plan out all of the games that I'm going to cover for pretty much up to about a 3 month-ish period. I have just like a list of the next 3 months of things that I need to be aware of that I'm going to cover. And that allows me to think of, to reach out to publishers and ask them about, if possible, if I could get a review code to play the game early. And, it never is really getting a no hasn't really stopped me from making content on a game that I've wanted to before. Cyberpunk was a good example of that. Barely anyone got codes for that game. I didn't get one, but I made like tons of content. I mean, 20 videos or something for Cyberpunk. And it's hasn't directly impacted whether I will or not, but it definitely impacts the workflow after that. Because if you get a code early, you can kind of get content prepared well before launch and then schedule things out. And it just makes that process so much simpler because you can have videos out ready as soon as the game is live. And it helps with, I guess, the mental mindset of knowing that when the game launches, I don't have to play the game for 10, 12, 15, however many hours immediately straight away and then go straight into making a video to try and get it out as soon as possible. It just helps with that process flow, definitely.
And then do you ever feel like because of what you do, you tend to like the game more or less digging into these mechanics? Like, does that affect the way you play or what you do or how you feel about a game?
It does affect the way that I play games for games that I'm covering, because I will often go much deeper into specific things or try a lot of different characters and or different builds, try different things in the game than I would if I'm just playing leisurely. If I'm playing leisurely, I'll usually just stick to one specific build, or like if, just not really get into that kind of deep granular level. I'll also, I think in terms of my enjoyment of games, I think Cyberpunk was one that I definitely lost a lot of enjoyment towards the end of making content for it, because it was constantly fighting the game in terms of bugs and issues and stuff that game had. But pretty much every game that I've covered, like I would still play again and I would still enjoy, I could pick it up and play it. I don't think there's any game that I've hated because, I've covered it, or it's just lost all enjoyment for the game. I try to stick to games that I enjoy, and like I love RPGs. And so it's really easy for me to play an RPG and find enjoyment in it.
And then what is like do you have like a palate cleanser? A game that you just kind of go back to kind of wash away whatever game you just finished covering or anything like that? And then how do you
Yeah.
choose to stop covering or when to stop covering a game? Not to ask two questions. They're very different, but...
That's all right. So this is my palette cleanser right here. This is my Oculus Quest 2 that I recently purchased. And this has been fantastic. Like I have never been in VR before. I only recently got into VR and I absolutely love it as a palette cleanser because, I'm constantly sitting at this desk all day, every day for 12 plus hours, and I can stand up and jump into VR and do something fun and different, and then sit back down and feel like I feel refreshed. But before that, and still to this day, like NBA has always been something that I'm super interested in. I love basketball, and I have big TV out in the lounge, and I just typically go jump on the couch and play some NBA as a bit of a palate cleanser. Is something that I've been doing for years, even when I was just working, wasn't making content. It's always been my kind of go-to, just like relaxing refresher that I'll always return to. But yeah, they're probably the two main things that I do to kind of recover. And what was the second question?
We'll get back to the second question in just a second. You just reminded me of something so what's up with the Miami Heat?
I don't know. What's up with a good team, aren't they? No, it's my love for basketball started when I was younger. My dad was very good at Australian rules football. For those that don't know, it's kind of like NFL but different in that they don't wear any pads or anything. They just wear very tight clothes and run around and smack each other around and try and put the ball through the big goalposts. Pretty much that's Australian rules football. But he was really good at it, and I wasn't. And so, growing up when your dad's really known for being really good at sport, I wasn't as good as him, and that made me struggle to get enjoyment out of AFL. And I really gravitated towards basketball because he knew nothing about it, and I felt like it was kind of my own thing. And so that's where that started. Then my brother got me onto the NBA. He's a big LeBron James fan, and he kind of got me onto that side of things. And I loved Dwayne Wade. He was probably one of my favorite, well, is my favorite player, and so that's where the Miami Heat kind of enjoyment kind of came from. And then when LeBron came over in 2010, it was really solidified because my brother started barracking for Miami Heat as well, because he's just a LeBron fan, so he'll just follow LeBron wherever he goes. So that was really where it all kind of started.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay, so the other question was how, like, the video games that you're playing, some of them can go on forever. I mean, New World, as long as it continues to be successful, like, for example, EverQuest apparently announced, EverQuest 2 apparently announced its 18th expansion just recently. I didn't even know that EverQuest 2 was still a thing. let alone on its 18th expansion.
Yeah, yeah.
And so theoretically, some of these games could have content coming out for them for years. So when do you decide where to stop making guides for a certain game? Is it like the viewer count starts dropping, or you start not liking the game anymore, or what is it?
It's a little bit of both. I don't necessarily look too directly at the view account. I use Google Trends. So you can view on Google Trends just like how often a game is being searched. Just put in like the name of the game. You can kind of see that trending of the game. And certain games will have more of a longer tail. Something like New World will have a longer tail because it's a multiplayer game. Something like Biomutant that I covered earlier in the year had a very short tail, just because of the nature of the game, and it didn't, they didn't really have any updates or drastic content or anything coming out. It took a huge dive off a cliff after the first couple of weeks, but it's mostly affected by that, and then a little bit based on scheduling. I would have liked to make more Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous content, but I pretty much had a 4-week period in between when that came out and New World, and I knew I wanted to cover New World extensively, so tried to cram as much into that time as possible. Then shift over, and then there is an element of enjoyment to it. I think Cyberpunk was one that I would have made more content on, if I was still enjoying the game to the level I was when I first started playing. And Cyberpunk has had a pretty decent tail. It's despite the fact that it's not the greatest game ever, it still does not so bad reviews wise. But yeah, it's a mixture of all three, I would say. But the key is probably scheduling and Google Trends.
And then McKenna, I saw your eyes light up when he talked about his subject for uni. Did you have any questions that you wanted to ask?
Oh gosh, how are you enjoying? Because I'm going to school right now for media production, so like, same boat type of deal.
Hell yeah.
So like, have you enjoyed like learning about like just like in like a formal setting, like learning about video communications, like that type of deal? Have you enjoyed it, I guess?
Yeah, I have. At the moment, I'm doing a gateway certificate to get into the Bachelor for Media and Comms. So this year is practically just all about the professional editing and writing. That's what the certificate will be. So pretty much the entire course is just head down and write stuff and make it good. And I've written short stories and film scripts and journalism stuff and all sorts of different things, and I've enjoyed pretty much all of it. It's been really refreshing to try something very vastly different to being an IT professional, which I just kind of fell into when I was 18 and just put everything into until that point. And I really enjoy writing, and I think that's comes out in some of my more kind of review discussion kind of videos that I've made in the past. Like I'm really proud of my Deathloop review. It didn't get tons of views, but I think I spent a lot of time writing and using a lot of the techniques that I've been learning to improve that. And I can see that with reviews I've done in the past, how much more improved my actual just writing skills have become. And when we get into the more media side of things in the next couple of years, I'm pretty keen to get into that stuff, because basically I'm on a foundation level at the moment for mostly communications, and I'm really excited to get into the media side.
Real quick, I can't say how much your writing has improved, but I can say that the Deathloop review was awesome.
Thank you.
So I did enjoy that quite a bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I've been trying to use some of the skills I've been learning and writing in my videos, and it's often hard when you're making guides or the kinds of videos that I make, because there isn't a whole lot of writing talent that can be shown, because it's just spitting information that's about the video game itself. And you can have your moments here and there, but I was really pleased to do that Deathloop review and spent a lot of time in getting that script right and editing it and everything. And I want to do more of that kind of stuff on the channel and kind of litter that throughout my other content.
Oh,
yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead, McKenna.
Oh no, I was gonna, that's so cool that you're like implementing like different ways that you can implement it into like just that's awesome. Yeah, that makes me so happy. Yeah, that's cool. Sorry.
Now, do you have a plan moving forward as to what you want to use your education for? Is it just bettering your content, or do you have a job in mind you're trying to shoot for, or?
I wouldn't say a specific job in mine. I think is absolutely an element of improving my own content and the stuff that I make. I would like to get an actual job in the gaming industry. I am very interested in journalism from that side of things, and it's probably the subject I've enjoyed most so far at uni as well. I would like to get into that kind of investigative journalism side of things. At some point, it's not a whole lot of jobs in that here in Australia, so we'll see, we'll see how we go. But there's also other stuff like there's community management and things out there, and I wouldn't say I'm set on a very particular job, but I do want to actually work in the industry.
So if you end up getting your degree and you end up moving into investigative journalism, however long down the road, if you could head over to Team Cherry and ask them what's going on with Hollow Knight Silksong, because I assume I still won't be out by then, please let me know.
Their studio's in the same town as me. I can go knock on the door and find out for you if you like.
We're gonna go on a field trip real quick.
Yeah.
That's actually really funny. I had no idea, but I knew that being in Australia, it'd be easier for you to travel to their studio than someplace in the UK or something. So,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
But gosh dang it, I just really want to know where Hollow Knight is. Silksong, I need you.
It'll come. It'll come.
Eventually, yeah. And not to go on a small tangent really quick that has nothing to do with the interview, but I think the most interesting thing is that they were doing previews and talking about it, and then the end of 2019 happened and they went almost completely dead silent. They did like a magazine interview that was, I want to say it was sometime in 2020 or earlier this year. But other than that, like, there has been almost zero content drops or word from that studio at all, other than, yeah, we have nothing to announce at this time. And it really makes me wonder what in the world is happening over there with Silksong.
Yeah.
I just hope they're not overextending their ambition a little too much, because as much as I love Hollow Knight, there was so much crammed into that little game.
Yeah, I would fully expect that that's part of the case. Like they would, it's a bit when you're an indie studio like them and you don't have direct deadlines that you have to meet, especially with the success of Hollow Knight. It's not like the money's going to dry up. You've got a lot of free time.
Yeah, they have a lot of freedom. It's like a 3 or 4 man team, so
exactly. Yeah. So you've got plenty of money, resources to put as much time and effort into the Silksong as you like. And COVID here in Australia, especially in our state, we are still in lockdown. A lot of people don't realize that we've been in and out of lockdowns since day one, and we just came out of or just about to come out of a 3.5-month lockdown. And before that, we've been in and out. I think this was lockdown number 6 technically, but some of them went for 6 months. So we're still very much dealing with COVID in Australia, and I would imagine that's affected the studio immensely, especially for such a small team. It's much harder to be collaborative when you're all remote, and you imagine an indie studio wouldn't have a lot of that infrastructure that a big AAA studio would have to be able to work remotely, freely, and comfortably. I imagine it's definitely caused issues with their development cycle.
Yeah, I don't know obviously how they operate. It really depends on whether they're a very in-office studio or if they only go to the studio to collaborate. Because I know that like Super Meat Boy, that was 2 people working across like the United States together, sending stuff back and forth. So yeah, really depends on how their development works and how COVID affected them. But I imagine no matter what, it definitely affected them, and it can't be easy with everything that's going on, like you said, with all the lockdowns and everything. However, hopefully it's for the best and it keeps COVID numbers down and keeps people safe, because that's what matters the most, right?
100%, absolutely.
Okay, so tangent aside, McKenna, do you have anything else that you wanted to ask?
Of course I do. I have my napkin of questions.
Oof.
Although some of them have been asked already. I promise it's not as much as it looks like.
No, go for it.
So you mentioned playing basketball earlier. I was curious, like, what other hobbies outside of video games and content creation that you enjoy doing?
Basketball is probably the number one, but other than that, I've always been very interested in fitness. Before I even started in IT, I was actually I'm a qualified personal trainer. I wouldn't train anyone now because it's been so long since I've even thought about how to train people. But
Not
that
to
was
mention, so much has changed within the
absolutely.
landscape of fitness.
Yeah, for sure. But that was the first thing that I was kind of I was doing back when I was a lot younger, because my dad has worked in the fitness industry for a long time, so I was interested in that side of things, and I've still kept that up today. It's been much harder with all of these lockdowns to actually attend a gym, and in my tiny 2-bedroom apartment to actually do any kind of fitness related things. But VR has been super helpful for that, to be able to do some VR fitness and different things. But that's a main thing that's been a staple of my life for a long time is fitness and health. Yeah, basketball. Um, Other than that, that's probably the main things. I think I would say, like, if you put me into 3 words, it'd be games, basketball, and fitness for the most part. Pop culture is obviously something that I think we all enjoy. Marvel, Star Wars, etc. All the big movies that we all watch, and yeah, like that's me really. Do enjoy
What's
the odd drink here and there too, and going out to restaurants and eating good food. But yeah,
what's your most obscure pop culture fandom besides your extreme love for
oh.
Fallout in the background there?
Yeah, you can see all the Fallout merch in the
The like
background.
radiated Pip Boy, the regular Pip Boy, the bobblehead Pip Boy, the looks like Funko Pip Boy. It looks like you have a
Yep,
lunchbox over there. You've got the
yep. There's the
helmet.
Vault Deck lunchbox. Yep. There's the mic's in the way a bit, but I've got some canteens and stuff down there as well. There's a Soldier 76 pop vinyl down there too for some reason, but it's mostly all Fallout stuff. um, but yeah, I guess I don't know. My most obscure. I'm a pretty vanilla pop culture fan, I would say. Like Star Wars has always been important to me. Marvel as well. Like I love all the Marvel stuff. Um, yeah, it's hard to say. I used to be very very hardcore into the Pokemon anime. Up until Sun and Moon, I used to really love the anime. And I'm still a pretty decent Pokemon fan. Like, still love Pokemon, but not a huge fan of where they've gone with the series. But that was probably something that I was super into. Yeah, no, I'm pretty vanilla, I guess, with pop culture stuff.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
I love the Pokemon detail because yeah, I agree. Sun and Moon was definitely a big change for that series, and definitely came with its love and hate, depending on where you fell, whether it was the art style or the storyline, etc.
Absolutely. The X and Y anime was so refreshing and so good, and then they just threw it all out of the window and made whatever Sun and Moon was, and that was quite depressing. But we live and we learn.
So going back to Fallout real quick, since you're such a big Fallout fan, where did your love for the series start, and what did you feel about Fallout 76? Not where it is
Yeah,
now, but when it first launched.
when it first launched. Okay. It started with Fallout 3. So when I was a teenager, when Fallout 3 came out, I my family wasn't in a position where I could buy a lot of games. We didn't have a lot of games that I was able to get, and so I had to be really sure about a game when I wanted to get it, and that's partly why RPGs became so important to me as well, is because they have such a long lifespan. You can play RPGs a number of different ways, try different scenarios, different builds, different dialogue options, like different quests. There's just so much in them, and Fallout 3 was one of those games that I bought and played hundreds and hundreds of hours of. Through a good couple of years when that game first came out, and I actually got the DLCs for it and just played it on Xbox for, I don't know, millions of hours. And I just loved it. It was so unique. I was already a fan of Elder Scrolls, but I like first person shooters, and I felt like it really combined the two things that I really enjoyed, in such a natural way. And the world was so cool, and Liam Neeson's voice just being, in the game and stuff, and you're like, hey, I know that guy. And it was, there was just so much to love in that game with, yeah, so many
Oh,
things. And with 76, sorry, did
I was just saying that was something that was really cool that Bethesda started doing. Like, not that big name voice actors weren't always part of video games. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name right now, but the guy who says war never changes.
yeah, yep, the
War,
guy from Sons of
war
Anarchy.
never changes.
whatever his name
No,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, why can't I remember his name? That's so weird.
I think it starts with
Hellboy, what is your name?
starts,
Um,
starts with P, I think.
oh my gosh. This hurts so much. Um, nope, I don't have it.
Ron Perlman.
Perlman, yes.
There you go. Yeah.
God, that hurt. That hurt so bad. I could not remember that. Um, anyway, Ron Perlman out of the way. I think it was Monster Hunter, man. The Monster Hunter live action movie just killed my image of Ron Perlman. I was just like, I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm out. I can't love you anymore. Uh, don't watch that movie, please.
I haven't, so you're safe.
Good, good. Now, have you ever experimented with other similar RPGs? We'll get to Fallout 76 in a second. That's just new tangent now. You mentioned dialogue options, and it made me think of one of my favorite games, which is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Um, and it's a very similar kind of open world esque RPG where that's in first person, where you get to make different dialogue choices and make faction choices, and depending on the decisions that you make, changes the end result of the final, like ending, or who's alive and who may not be alive by the end of the game. So are there any other games of that ilk that you have found a love for over the years?
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm a big Mass Effect fan. Love the Mass Effect trilogy. The Witcher as well. Like I read all the books and love the games. You know, Dragon Age as well. I don't know where that game series is going to go, but the first one was absolutely fantastic for that whole choice and consequence stuff, especially like depending on your background and race, like whatever you choose, you started in a new area, which was like super cool and unique, and that made that game really really fun. And most Western RPGs I've played to some degree. Vampire Masquerade isn't one that I have actually, that I haven't played, but yeah, like I've mostly stuck to Western RPGs. There's a few JRPGs that I'm a fan of. Love Persona, especially Persona 5. Final Fantasy is not my thing as much as Paul Despawn Games likes to shun me for it. I don't like Final Fantasy, but yeah, I've definitely tried most Western RPGs out there.
Nice. Yeah, if you can, if you have time, I know your schedule for video games is busy and full. It's often on sale for like $10 on Steam. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, check it out. Obviously, the sequel was supposed to come out, and then who knows what's happening with that game anymore. Hardsuit Labs was like, yeah, it's coming out next year in March, and that was back in what, 2019? And then uh, maybe it might even have been 2018, and then they were like, yeah, it's coming in March, and then it got pushed to the end of 2019, and then obviously 2020 happened, and then Hardsuit Labs got removed from that game, and then they put somebody else on it, and we literally have heard nothing since. So
Am I
I
going to
don't
have to
know
have played
what's
the
going on with
first
that
one to
game.
play the second one?
No, not at all. There will be, from what they said, there will be returning characters. Like there will be like one or two maybe surprise returning characters, but other than that, it's a game you can play completely on its own.
Yeah,
So
cool.
if you never went back to the old one or the first one, you could just play the new one.
I'm definitely more likely to play the new one than the old one. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't really blame you for that. It's kind of janky. Um, it definitely, there's like an unofficial patch for it that this wonderful man has been working on since the game came out, and it's on like version 16 or something like that, and he's just
Oh
literally
wow.
been plugging away trying to fix stuff within the game for the past 20 years. I mean, not 20 years, it's probably like 16 years at this point. And he's still doing new releases and stuff for it, even now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
But
credit to
yeah,
him.
the fact that you have to download his patch for the game to feel decent is not great. But I loved the game with all of its flaws back in the day. So anyway, um, Fallout 76. What were your feelings when that game first came out?
I was pretty disappointed. I didn't finish the game at launch. I think I only made it to like level 20. My partner and I are both Fallout fans. We both love Fallout, and we were very excited to play a game together, a Fallout game, explore the world. And Todd loves his 16 times the detail and quotes and stuff at E3, and it's hard not to get involved in the hype when you're such a fan of the series. And it was very disappointing at launch for sure. There were so many issues with it. It just wasn't a good game, and I really got into it around Wastelanders when that came out, when they really shifted to making it more like a Fallout game and changing the game fundamentally. And I've been playing on and off ever since Fallout Wastelanders came out. 2020, that was last year. I think that came out
Yeah, I
last
think
year.
that sounds
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Did
feels like
did you
forever ago.
start a new character when
I
when that
did.
dropped?
I did, yeah. I made a video comparing the intro before and after Wastelanders. It was
Oh, I'll have to go check that
one of
out.
the first Fallout 76 videos that I did, because I knew they were going to be changing the way the intro and stuff worked, and it's significantly better now. Because at the originally, and just like the rest of the game, it just feels so barren. There was just like nothing. You would get a voice, like a voice recording here and there, and like quests would just like pop. You just walk into an area and it's like, go and explore this, but then there was just nothing at the end because there was no NPCs and everything just kind of felt very, very samey. And yeah, the Wastelanders and the updates they've done since then, bringing back the Brotherhood and all the other changes, has really made the game feel like a Fallout game and feel much more alive. And I am pretty happy with where the game's gone, and I'm optimistic about the game's future. I think it's got a lot ahead of it still.
Nice. Sorry, McKenna, that was a long stretch of stealing your questions. I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
So
So earlier you mentioned about looking at the YouTube analytics and everything. Which, I mean, I have a channel with like 13 subscribers. I have 2 videos. I love looking at the statistics, even though it's just like, oh, it's 2 views or whatever. So like oh, it's so cool. So I was just wondering, like, what is the coolest YouTube statistic to look at and to watch and just to study and research and everything?
Ooh, the coolest. That's an interesting way to put it. I don't know what I would say the coolest is. I think the coolest feature is that practically all of the analytics at the top right have an advanced mode that you can click on, and it will give you tons more information on whatever it is you're looking at, whether it's impressions, views, view rates, etc. That's probably the coolest feature, because you can drill down into more analytics from there. But the most valuable, I would say, is your watch time, and your watch time retentions that you can look at individually for each video or across the board. So you can go into each video and then you look at the watch time, and you can see, a percentage of when people like were watching, when they dipped, did they click further into the video, and then you can watch that back just even in that feed and see, what actually happened, why they left or why they clicked ahead, that kind of stuff. And I find that really interesting, just to kind of and get that understanding of like viewer behavior, like why they're doing certain things, and then using that information to improve my videos, as well as like your impression click-through rates. And you can drill into the advanced mode of that and see the impressions based on specific things like YouTube search, browse features, playlist, etc., and like see how many impressions in those specific factors, and then how many people are actually clicking on it based on that. And then that's an interesting thing to do, to see whether your core audience is actually watching it, or whether it's mostly coming from YouTube search, or how that's working. But yeah, advanced feature, advanced mode, cool feature.
one of the things that you mentioned, wow, I just totally lost my train of thought.
You're stealing McKenna's questions again.
I know. Uh, one of the things that you mentioned, as far as advanced mode goes, about clicking forward. And I'll tell you what, you were mentioning earlier about those people that have like 2-minute intros. As soon as that intro starts, I'm usually like, okay, 2 minutes in, you're still, okay. You know what? I'm going to go see if I can find another video that maybe is more informative than this one.
I hate that stuff. I hate it so much. I had a really big internal battle with actually putting a call to action in my intro. Saying whatever, like subscribe, do whatever the call to action is for that video, right? Like when I launched my merch, it was like, go check out my store, whatever it is. Like I really struggled with putting that in, because as a viewer, you don't care. Like you're there for the content, right? And so I try to keep it to no more than 30 seconds for my intros. I try to keep them as short and simple as possible. And I see it in so many people's content. So you click on their video and they're like, "Hey guys, this is what we're going to talk about today." Then they run like a 10-second graphic intro. It's like so and so's channel. Check out all my stuff. And then they're like, "Hey guys, make sure you subscribe and like these videos. And I'm also running a giveaway, so make sure you comment and do this and like and blah 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 blah." And then it's like 3 minutes into the video, and then the actual content starts, and the video goes for 10 minutes and you've just wasted 3 minutes of time doing nothing. And it's, I hate that stuff.
We have our dumb intro, but we expect people to skip it and or just not watch it at all if you look at our advanced metrics. But doesn't really matter. We still enjoy doing it. And I just want to make sure everyone feels appreciated when we do our introduction, because that's really what it's about. It's about you guys. It's about the people that are on this panel right now, and the people that are going to be listening to it. Are here for that content. So
sure, your intro is not bad at all. Don't worry about
that. And then all the click to, or click the notification bell, subscribe stuff, that all comes at the end, if I even remember, because it's one of those things that it's a necessary evil. Like, you have to put it out there at some point, and otherwise you're not going to get that engagement. Tim Geddes talks about all the time how when they were first doing Kind of Funny, they weren't asking for subscribers. They weren't asking you to like go on Twitch and use your Twitch Prime, and they've seen so much benefit from doing things like that. They're at almost 300,000 subscribers, by the way. I went and looked that up earlier to clear up the 1 million debacle. I think across their three, they're like almost there. Because both of their channels are almost to 3 million. I didn't look at Kind of Funny plays because I'm lazy. I'm sure that one's only at like 30,000. But anyway, McKenna, back to your questions.
And then just like, what has been your favorite part of making content overall? It might be a bit of a loaded question, but just favorite part.
My favorite part is probably meeting people. It's not necessarily directly related to actually making the content, but in the kind of content sphere, like meeting people like you guys in the Kind of Funny community. I was always just like a dude who clicked play on Spotify for years. I never looked at social media or anything. I'm in my spare time, I'm not a huge social media person. I don't really like social media. But then just in the nature of content, you've kind of got to have that kind of stuff, and just really expanded my my circle, I guess, and like meeting cool people and like you guys, and there's plenty of people out there. I don't want to name names because then you forget someone and someone gets mad at you, but except for that, please be excited guy, because he never shows up to his podcast. But other than him, no, it's been great just like meeting people, learning what they're doing, and just like about different people, and just the cool talents that people have. Like my logo, Matt Ferguson made that for me, and he's extremely talented, and there's so many people out there that have just got so much talent, and I've always used a lot of that for my own motivation, and it's just cool to see the stuff that people do and be a part of like a wider audience of people, and that's probably the coolest thing, and meeting different people. Like I got to be on a voice call with some people from Bethesda for an event, and Todd Howard popped in, and that was probably one of the like most shocking things that's ever occurred to me. Like he wasn't supposed to be there, but he just like popped in and to like say g'day, and we got to kind of talk to him for a couple of minutes. And there's so many cool people out in the industry that you guys have met as well, even on this show. That's probably the most cool thing I would say about it.
Awesome. And then my final question on the napkin of questions is what has been the biggest or most important thing you've learned through your content creation journey?
The most important thing that I have learned is
2 a.m.
No, I think it's a mental hurdle, I guess, in general. So like, getting over some anxiety about actually posting content, and also just having a thick skin for feedback and comments and stuff. Like, just the nature of the beast is you're always going to get negative comments, especially as you start to grow. People always seem to be negative of success. And I'm pretty thick-skinned, and I find that there's value in reading every piece of feedback that you get. Some people can't, if it makes you feel a certain way, it's probably not a good thing to do. But I read every single comment that goes on any of my videos, regardless of if it's telling me that I'm ugly and I shouldn't be on camera, or if it's actually like valuable feedback to anything. I'll always read it, and and I think there's learning experiences to come from anything, and I always try and improve from any kind of feedback and stuff that comes from me, and regardless if it's positive or negative or whatever it is. But having that kind of growth mindset and iterating on everything you do is always important, I think.
That's
I saw you react to the ugly comment, and I have actually legitimately got comments about that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like blown away. You could be a Hemsworth brother for all I know. Like, damn.
No way. No, people say all kinds of things on YouTube.
Yeah.
I got one like a couple of months ago, like, because I put in my intros, like I have like a 15-second of like the game, whatever, introing you to the video. Then I just cut to my call to action of me and then straight into the content. And I had a comment, and it was like, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was like, you should like never put your face in these videos again. And I was like, no worries, man, I'll put my cat in the next one. And just like gave him a thumbs up. But it's people say all kinds of things. Like, you just got to deal with it and move on.
We had Rebecca Valentine on the show not too long ago. And she was talking about kind of the switch that flipped when she got X amount of followers on Twitter. Like, she used to just post whatever she wanted, didn't really think about it. And then she hit a certain amount of followers, and she started to get a lot of those comments that you don't want to see, you don't want to hear, you just kind of want to block them, mute them, move on.
Yep.
And you were talking about growth, and that it's such a weird thing that people have this obsession with just making comments like that. I think the dark rabbit hole I most recently went on was the new Grand Theft Auto trilogy. You've got a team of X amount of people that are taking the time to unearth this code, whether it was the more recently unearthed mobile version or the original source code. Either way, they're taking the time to port all of that over to Unreal Engine 4, which is not an easy thing to do. It's not like just, okay, cool, drop said file into said engine and yay, things work. No, there's a lot of stuff that goes into just making it turn on after doing that. And then you think about everything else that went into that, such as the texture remakes and all of the artists that had to take the time to rework thousands of assets. And it's not just changing the texture map and then flopping it over the old texture file and going, cool, this works, right?
Yep.
No, that's not how it works, because you don't know how it's going to blend to the model. You don't know how it's going to react to the new engine, the new lighting system. You don't know if there's going to be a material change that has to happen, because it's not the same technology that they used 20-ish years ago. And so looking at all of the different art changes that they made, looking at all the different engine changes that they made, looking at the fact that they actually literally changed functionality within the game, saying that they borrowed elements from the Grand Theft Auto 5 shooting mechanics or gameplay mechanics and put them in this version of the game. And then thinking about the fact that they added new features that were never in any of those games, like being able to reload missions instead of having to go back to the last checkpoint and drive to the mission and restart it, whatever. Anyway, so much work went into these games. And then you have people, and let's not forget that each one of these games is 20 to 80 hours long, depending on what you want to do within that world and how much you want to get out of it. But if you're just mainlining the story, it's like 15 hours, 20 hours, and 40 hours for each game respectively. And like, people are sitting here going, oh, not worth $60, looks like trash, ugly garbage fire, why'd they even do this? Oh god, I can't, it looks like Fortnite. Which, like, does Fortnite look bad? When was that a thing? How did that become an insult? Looks like a screenshot from Roblox. I'm like, when did that become a negative? Anyway, not the point. And it was just a really dark rabbit hole, and it's like, why expend your energy on making these comments and going out on the internet and doing these things that literally like have no constructive criticism whatsoever? I understand if someone was like, hey, NorZZa, love your content. I thought your audio levels were a little sharp in this section of the video. I don't know if there's anything you can do about that next time or what constraints you were under, but I just wanted to let you know that the audio was a little off at this point or whatever. Like, at least that serves a purpose. That has some constructive thing where you can go back and you can look at it and you can go, okay, cool, he's right. There's something wrong with the audio here. Um, and, you know, at least that's something to look out for in the future when you're rendering a video or whatever. But, like, I don't understand just saying, oh, dude, you're fuck ugly. Like, what?
Yeah, that's just what comes with it. It seems like that GTA comment has hit a bit of a sore spot for you there.
A little bit, yeah, just
It
because.
seems like you've been really waiting to hit people with that rant. At any someone waiting for you to give you a platform that you can tell people about these comments that you read. But no, it's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. Like, you know, one of the most valuable pieces of feedback I think I've ever got was that I talk too fast, which I do talk very fast, especially in videos when, you know, my content's always trying to jam as much into that 8 minutes as possible. So, and when I know what I'm talking about, I just like talk very fast. Like, I'll just go and I'll just spit information at you. And when you're talking about complex things, it can be hard to follow. And so that's something I've worked on a lot with my content, is slowing down like my speech and just trying to make sure that there's a bit of more of a flow, and that, you know, you can kind of land and understand the complexities of things. But yeah, there's always value in reading feedback, regardless of if they think you're ugly or not.
um, yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, but at this on the same note, what if they just said, "I hate your voice"? Like, that doesn't add any criticism to the conversation. That's just, oh, okay, don't watch my content anymore, and you'll be fine because you won't have to listen to my voice anymore.
Well, you're right. You're right. That doesn't add anything, but, you know, maybe there's something that there's a reason for that. Like, is it the audio levels in the video? Is it, did I mess something up? Like, am I
Sure.
talking too fast? Like, you know, sometimes reading between the lines is important. But yeah, I've always found value in reading everything, regardless if it is valuable or not. Like, obviously the guy who told me I'm ugly, I'm not really going to go and get plastic surgery and change my face for him or anything. But, you know, always read is something I've always tried to do.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine the mental stress because, like, I am a very small individual in social media, and I get zero comments, which I'm very happy about. Um, and you know, I do agree with you that it'd be nice to have more comments on videos to let us know what we could do better, what we could be changing, what we could do to be more engaging to the audience, and things like that. But yeah, the mental stress of seeing stuff like that, I don't know if I could handle it. You are way more amazing than I am as a person. I'm just gonna throw that out there right now.
Oh, it is stressful. It's highly stressful, especially like just general anxiety and stuff of seeing comments, and you've just got to like try and separate yourself from the person making that comment and understand that they're not often attacking you directly, even if it is a direct attack. They're often mad at something else, or they're just
Sure.
mad at life in general, and they're just like voicing their opinion on this anonymity of social media or YouTube or whatever it is. And you know, it's just trying to distance, for me anyway, it's been trying to distance myself from the brand and the NorZZa that you see on YouTube. It's still me. It's 100%
Yeah.
me, and it's authentic me. It's still the Australian with a weird sense of humor sometimes, but, you know, just trying to distance myself from who I am as a person to those comments is kind of helps with that that mental hurdle.
I thought it was really cool. We had Timur on the show recently, and he was talking about how those people that are angry that they're making these horrible comments or whatever, they're just mad that they can't do it. They're mad they're mad that they're not the one out there in this YouTube video because they just don't have the capability or the time, you know, like whatever. They're mad about the fact that they can't do it as well as you can. So they're just going to lash out. And I thought that was a really interesting way to kind of separate yourself from it. Um,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. That's
let
a
it
really
go.
good way.
All right, McKenna, you may be out of personal questions, but I know you have some community questions. I know it's not too crazy, but I love it. So let's get that one out there.
Erica at Ambulina says, "Kitty!" Exclamation point.
Because we used the picture of you for your reveal photo for the post that
Yes.
has your cat in there. So let's hear about this cute little kitty for a minute.
Yeah, so that cat, that one that you saw, that's Toffee. She's a black tortoiseshell. She's one of our cats. We have Toffee and Eve. They're both tortoiseshells, and they're both good girls for the most part. Despite they don't really get along very well, but they're both good cats. We've had them for years. Eve is I would say 8, and Toffee is 6.5 to 7-ish. So we've had them for a long time. And yeah, no, they're both very cute cats. I don't often have them in here because I got to close my door when I record, and they don't like to be trapped. So they're very cute.
Oh my goodness. I love cats.
That's awesome.
And then another a question from Mark Freeman at the Indie Boy 1 asks, "What's your rank in Rocket League? We just recently made champ and are still climbing. Sorry for the brag."
You know what? I have played Rocket League maybe once in my entire life, so I do not have a rank. But well done to you, Mark. It's awesome that you're still climbing. My little brother plays Rocket League, but it's not for me. Congrats, Mark. Doing well. Great to see your success.
Now, earlier in the show, we were talking about your editor at Shotgun McPain, currently Trickolas Slain, which I really like. It's pretty great. And we were joking about how he said, "Hey, I know that boy," and then you said, "Better ask me a solid question," and then he replied with the Key and Peele gif of oh my god,
Sweating.
Jordan Peele, yeah, sweating.
Yeah.
And didn't post a question. So you DM'd him, and you know what his question is? You know what the best thing he could come up with was for this question for you?
Hit me with it.
How new is New World?
Well, it's probably old world now. Let's be honest. It's been out for 3 weeks. But thanks for that question. There, you've done well. That's my editor. Very intelligent. Not good. Not good. I don't pay him to write, so it's.
I'm gonna erase. I'm gonna assume. I'm gonna assume that he's like me and fails at typing on the internet, and sometimes may mess up ats. Like instead of writing NorZZa, he writes NorZZa. You know, maybe that's a thing that happens. So I'm gonna say this question was supposed to be, "How is New World?"
How is New World? Okay, I'm sure that's what he meant. It's a good, not great game overall. I think the first 40 levels are really well done, and a lot of people are really enjoying the game and haven't really got to that kind of late game stuff. And I think that's partly why it's done so well, trending and in the gaming sphere of people playing it, is because the first 10-20 levels are just well made. Like it's a fun experience, and it's a fun new MMORPG to try. But it's got a lot of issues that Amazon Game Studios are going to have to iron out in the long term, as well as release new content for. Like if there's no new content, the game's definitely gonna fall off a cliff. But they are working on content as far as we know, and I hope that it does come through. But it's a good, not great game. I definitely would recommend people to try it if they're interested and wondering about whether they should get into it or not.
Nice. And then my favorite question, we always ask this question, Hoodie at the Penny Marvels simply asks, "How are you?"
Okay, I'm alive. That's the main thing. It's been a pretty stressful week or week and a half. If you follow like any of my socials, like my YouTube account got hacked, so I've been relatively stressed the past week and a half, but I'm doing all right.
Yeah,
how are you guys though? I feel like I should ask you guys how you both are.
Go ahead, McKenna.
I was just gonna say stressed.
I mean, to be fair, you put a lot of weight on your shoulders. I mean, I feel like you're always helping people with content creation. You're managing school, you're managing being away from your family for the first major long period of time, I believe. There's a lot going on in your life, and I imagine that's really stressful. So
Yeah, it's all a combination of that. Plus, I'm trying to study abroad next summer in London, and I learned I have to have a passport when I apply, and passports are like 10 to 14 weeks out from like actually
ooh,
getting one, and the application closes in 16 weeks. So I'm like trying to figure
ooh.
that out and like be able to do that in time. So that's the
I
big thing
don't
that's happened this week.
I don't know what the process is in Philadelphia, but what I will say, do you have like a Costco or like what's the other thing that's like Costco?
Sam's Club.
Sam's Club.
Hmm.
They can usually do passport photos, which a lot of people don't know. So you might go to your nearest Sam's Club and see if you can get that passport photo taken care of,
Yes.
and then you can go to your town hall, or city hall, and do your passport paperwork there, which generally seems to speed things up a little bit, especially if you can go outside and go to a smaller town city hall.
Yeah. I'm hoping to next week I go home. So I'm hoping that it's significantly smaller than Philadelphia. So I'm hoping. So we'll see. But yeah,
Throwing some
that's how I
American tips your way.
yeah. That concludes the passport segment of Out of My League.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we do a quick "How are you?" at the beginning of the show. How are you doing? But it's more generally like, oh, I'm doing well. Oh, whatever. But since you're legitimately asking how are we? How am I? How is everything going? I am also really stressed right now. Things are in a weird place at my work right now, so trying to figure out what the next step there is, or what we're going to be doing next. Hopefully we'll have everything situated and nothing will be bad, but um, there's some stuff happening where there's potential that I could get laid off again, and that's never fun. um, and a lot of the American COVID unemployment benefits in California are ending. So
Mm.
we're going back to making, very small amount of money on unemployment, for better or for worse, but for worse for the normal average person because our normal unemployment rates are very low, um, like far below minimum wage even. So definitely kind of hard. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's something I'm a little nervous about right now, and I'm sure it'll all work out and be okay. If nothing else, it'll give me time to work on some projects that I have been trying to do but haven't had enough time to do. So we'll see um, how that goes.
Yeah. You're a smart and talented individual, so I'm sure you'll land on your feet.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Phil. Woo!
um, but yeah, so I think that is a great way to end Hoodie's question. A little different. A little different. It doesn't usually get turned back around on us. So
I'm glad I could do something different.
yeah. I didn't make Australian jokes. You turned the "How are you?" question around. I love it.
Hell yeah. Well done, team.
Yeah.
Um, so moving on from there, what is like your favorite piece of content that you've created? Like if you could choose one particular, like, I don't know, if you want to make it a broader spectrum of a game that you loved covering, or just like a particular video, what is it?
A particular video I would say is that Deathloop video. I'm really happy with how that video turned out. I feel like yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it uses a lot of the skills that I've been learning, and I think it's a really quality video. And um, favorite game that I've probably covered, I would say probably Wasteland 3, because like I love Fallout, and Wasteland was originally, it birthed Fallout. It's a CRPG which I enjoy. It was the first game that I ever got a review code for, so like that was just really exciting to someone to recognize me as a person that may actually do something valuable with a code, and made content for it. Probably not the best content now, considering my quality's improved over time, but that was really fun for me to make content for that game and enjoy a post-apocalyptic CRPG. And yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, I got my first kind of review code, not review code, but like not, from the company code not too long ago, and it was actually for my Quest 2, my
Oh,
Oculus
really?
Quest 2.
You have it? Wait, you have
And
a Quest? Why are we not friends? We need to be friends. I have zero friends on my Quest. We need to buddy up.
I almost pulled it out earlier, but it's in quite like just a slightly out of the way reach from where I am right now. Um, but yeah, no, absolutely, I'll hit you up after the show. Um, so one of the first guests we ever got on the show was Mike Bithell. And he is, the head over at a small indie studio called Bithell Games.
Yep, yep.
Um, and they
Heard of it.
recently came out with Arcsmith, which is a really cool tactile puzzle game where you play as kind of like a newbie engineer, and you're in space, and you are working with this giant kind of blue tiger man and his little robot assistant, learning how to be an engineer. And it teaches you these mechanics that are really fun and cool. And you've got to put these kind of puzzle pieces together to make these objects so that you can keep the ship moving, or do different things while all these other things are happening within the story. And much like most Mike Bithell games, Bithell games, this technically wasn't directed by Mike Bithell. I don't remember the gentleman's name that was the director on the project, but he's a really cool guy. um, anyway, uh, so it's got a great overarching story, and it's very in depth when it comes to the storytelling and stuff like that. So it's a very, very big part of what you're doing, and I found it very immersive and a lot of fun. And I was able to get that code, and I really appreciate that. Um, and I had a lot of fun with it. It gets a little bit more complex and it's a little slower. So if you're not along for that story ride, may not be for you. But I love the story writing and stuff that studio comes out with. And I highly recommend most of those titles. Anyway,
What was it called?
Arcsmith.
Arcsmith. All right. I might look that up. I'm always looking for new stuff on the Quest.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something to literally just chill with and just kind of uh, relax and do some puzzles, there's not really, at least to where I've gone. I haven't beaten it yet, but there's nothing like super time constrained. I'm able to do everything kind of just at my leisure. So I don't know if that gets harder. I know the puzzles get harder, even though they're a little samey. They get harder as you go on. I don't know if there's a time constraint as you get further as well. I don't know if they throw a time constraint on top of that.
Yeah, cool.
But it's really fun, and yeah, if you're just looking to chill on the Quest, do you think you'll pick up Resident Evil 4?
Yes, I will. It's on my list because I'm a recent Quest adopter. I'm kind of just going through like a backlog of games to try out and play. And being a new one, it's not at the top of the list, but I'll definitely be checking out Resident Evil 4.
Not to throw content ideas your way, but if you ever feel the need / want / hey, your buddy Phil wants Quest recommendations, if you ever do a top 10 Quest games, let me know, because I would
Will
love
do.
to see, because that's been the hardest thing for me too. Is I bought the Walking Dead game, which was kind of cool.
Playing that right now, Saints and Sinners. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple mechanics I wasn't super thrilled about, because when I'm in VR, I like just existing in that world, which means I spend a lot of time in certain areas. And so when it came to having some of the time constraints that they put on
Mm.
you, and how those time constraints affect the quest lines in that game,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's not very fun.
Yeah. Does
And go ahead.
It does do a lot of cool stuff though with the zombies
Yes.
and the different using your physical body and stuff in that space.
Yeah,
Very
I mean,
very enjoyable in that regard.
the first time I picked up a bottle, broke said bottle on an object, and stabbed it into a zombie's brain, I was like, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that feeling was just so cool, and being able to like grab onto the zombie so it doesn't bite you and stuff. They do some really neat stuff. Um, Obviously not on the Quest, but when you hook your Quest up to a PC, I was able to play Half-Life Alyx.
Done that as well.
And that is absolutely one of my favorite VR experiences, hands down, just because, I mean, like when you first get into that world and they give you the little alien in a jar, and you can like tap on the glass and it reacts to you tapping on the glass. And then when you like pick up the thing that says food, and you just naturally it just feels like, oh, I can just
Yep.
pour this over, and oh, food comes out, and then the little thing is so happy in his little jar. And just little details like that, being able to pick up a pen off of the counter and write on the glass because you see writing on the glass, like all these little things that they just kind of show you that are in other VR titles. It's not to say it's doing anything amazing in that regard. It's just the fact that all of that is in one place and it's there.
Yep.
It makes the world feel very immersive and organic. And other than those two, and Arcsmith, I was playing one other one that I am spacing right now. It's like an arrow, shooting arrows. You run around, shoot arrows. I don't remember the name of it right now. But I'm looking for a couple things that are more active that aren't Beat Saber. And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
having some trouble finding stuff like that.
Yeah, I use my VR for a bit of fitness stuff as well at the moment, and I've been playing Fit XR. It's a subscription-based fitness app. They've got like boxing classes and hit classes and
Oh,
dance
cool.
as well. Like they do like tons of different stuff. I've been playing a fair amount of that to kind of get a bit of my fitness fix.
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone that has a lot of trouble doing cardio because cardio can be very boring depending on like if you don't have the motivation or someone with you doing it, doing something like hit can be very intense but also kind of monotonous, and then doing something like a treadmill or a bike can get real boring. So having kind of that video game element might help as far as doing that cardio aspect.
Definitely does for me. They also have leaderboards for all of them as well, so like you're like competing against other people,
Oh, cool.
which is super fun because I'm highly competitive and have to be at the top of the leaderboard. But no, that's it's very enjoyable, I find.
Nice. That was a random tangent that had nothing to
Yeah.
do with anything. So it's all those people that have quests, yay, you got some quest content in there.
Yes. Hit me up with
Um,
your quest recommendations as well. Anyone who's listening has a quest, and also add me because I have 0 friends.
I'll take it into the show. It'll be fine. And then yeah, Resident Evil 4, I'm super excited about. I might have to wait on it for a little bit because there are too many games right now, and it is Resident Evil 4. And I know it's a new experience for Resident Evil 4, but at the same time, it's still Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll get there. I'll get there. Um, and then if you could, like, if you had free time and you could just make whatever YouTube content you wanted to make, is there like a type of video or some type of subgenre of videos that you would try and get into besides what you're doing now?
I would like to do content that isn't SEO based, if that makes sense. So like it isn't search engine optimization based or YouTube search based, which is really hard to do on YouTube in general. Like, sometimes I have
I feel it in
ideas.
my bones.
Yeah, like it's sometimes I have ideas for something that I've got on my board at the moment, which is just a general idea, is what makes a game an RPG. So we've seen so many changes lately with companies, Ubisoft, other companies that just put the term RPG or RPG-like elements into their games. And does that make them an RPG? Like, why are they doing that? Are they just trying to hit, the RPG fandom and try and get them to be interested in their game to make more sales? Like, just that kind of stuff. And those things that, how would you even make a video out of that? What would the title be, the thumbnail? Like, it's not really something that has any particular focus really, and I've got a few things like that I've always had ideas for, and I'm actually turning that kind of concept into like a members only video, which I'm starting to do once a month. So I'll have a video out once a month for like my YouTube members, and that kind of content that isn't really search engine based or has any kind of direct purpose in that regard will end up on there for the members to watch. It'll still be same quality as all my other stuff, but there's other things that I'd like to talk about.
I'll tell you right now, I'm a sucker for video essays.
Yeah. Video essay is a really good way to put it. Yeah.
I've been watching Barrett's stuff on the Arkham and
Yeah,
like
he
his
makes
stuff on
fantastic.
Zelda
Yeah.
and stuff like that. The Arkham stuff is a little short for me. It's like I enjoy guide content when it's like 8 to 15 minutes long, especially if it's around something that I want. Obviously, if it's about a very specific puzzle, I like it to be a shorter, separate video. Like it's really hard to watch those 20-minute long videos that have like 10 different sections, and you're like, well, which section am I looking for? How long
Yep.
into the video is it? Okay, wait, they have it marked down here. Let me click to that point in the video. Oh, wait, I missed it because I'm trying to look this up on my phone, and my phone is like too small, or, whatever. Anyway,
Yep.
so I like being able to just like click the video of what I want. And it's like, oh, cool, 2 minutes, great. But when it comes to video essays, like I will throw like a video essay on in the background when I'm cooking or doing something like that, and I'm just an absolute sucker for that stuff. 100%. I love it. And yeah, as far as what is an RPG in 2021 or 2022, whenever said video were to come out, that I would love that. Absolutely. That is content I could get behind 100%.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's well written. So that's another part.
Well, I hope it's well written. I haven't written it yet, so we'll see.
Right. I'm just saying. We were talking about writing earlier.
Yeah.
Um, and then do you see yourself, progressing past YouTube, trying to get back on Twitch, or maybe moving to a different platform? Do you see yourself maybe moving away from Twitch and streaming on YouTube? Anything along those lines?
Yeah. So I have pretty much left Twitch. I did my final stream a couple of weeks ago. All my future content will be on YouTube. Moving back, probably not. I mentioned earlier about my thoughts of Twitch as a whole, but I mean, as a platform, I don't really see Twitch being a long-term solution to a live streaming platform. They don't really have anything around the live streaming, and I feel like a lot of content creators are going to be moving away from just having live content because it's so stressful on your mind to be live all of the time, and probably want to move to a different platform, like we've seen, Tim the Tapman and the other people who have moved across, obviously on deals. But I would expect a lot of those other creators to start thinking about the long term as well. Wouldn't surprise me if Twitch disappears in a couple of years, based on the way that Amazon likes to handle their products. But moving back, probably not. Probably be on YouTube for the foreseeable future. I'm probably going to launch a second channel at some point, to just like diversify the kind of content that I make. So rather than being just like highly focused on just like the RPG stuff that my main channel is, to kind of play around with different things on another channel that's kind of just like an experimental board where it's more, I don't want to say personality based, but just like throwing things at the wall, other ideas, concepts, stuff that I've thought of that doesn't fit within the RPG brand of the other main channel.
And then you mentioned being on all the time, and yeah, that's definitely something that kind of plagues the current content creation industry. Whether it's trying to produce a video a day, whether it's being on, like you said, all the time, streaming every single day. I mean, there was a mentality there for a little while, a couple of years ago, where people were like, you can't make it on Twitch unless you're streaming 24/7, and you can't miss a day. And now, a schedule is still important when streaming, but killing yourself to do that is just not good. I mean, if you need to take a day, take a day. Mental health is really important. These people are people. They're not just computer screens. They're not just AI-driven computers that have human faces. Like, they are real people with real needs, and they can't be on all the time. So I'm glad it's kind of shifting in that direction, whether it's people taking more time for themselves, or like you said, people shifting away from Twitch entirely, and moving to a more relaxing medium. I mean, that's kind of what happened with me is I was streaming 3 days a week, and then I was doing the Simply Sassy stuff, and then I was working full time, plus trying to get art commissions done for different people. And I just had to stop. I had to like slow down and be like, I can't do all of this. Um, and so for my general health, I stopped doing pretty much anything except the Simply Sassy stuff and my art commissions, and that was it. And then of course, working. And it's still been challenging. I've definitely slowed down on art commissions. I haven't been taking as many. And we only have the one show currently, so I'm not doing a lot of content. It's just once a week we sit down with an amazing guest like yourself and chat it up. But that, yeah, I can't. That's why we talk about, how do you handle it with like going to uni or having a full-time job or being on call 24/7. Like, how do you deal with that and do content creation? Because it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do. People who look at content creation and they think, oh, well, all you do is sit and, drink water and have funny bots show messages like, don't forget to drink water in 10 minutes. Or like respond to chat and throw funny gifs up and whatever else, but they don't understand, just like going back to the Grand Theft Autos, the sore spot. They don't understand the work that goes into a lot of these things. And it's not just somebody sitting down in front of a screen and playing video games. There's so much that goes into that, whether it's the mental stress, whether it's the physical ability, whether it's all the stuff they're trying to produce in the background. um and yeah, it's like Gage does a lot of great stuff for us. Obviously Matt Ferguson made the Out of Our League logo, um and whatnot, but all the thumbnails, all of the background assets that are in the background of videos, all that stuff is made by Gage in his off time when he's not on a show or doing other things. And there's just so much, yeah, background work that people don't even think about. Like you said, you had to bring on an editor to fine tune your content, and I imagine he's not working for free. And
I
so
wish.
that so that that puts a financial burden on top of everything else you're trying to carve out. And oh man, content creation is wild.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it for sure, and finding that balance is really hard. You guys are lucky that you're a group as well, that you can, divvy up some of the tasks and everything. And that's something that I've definitely valued from now having an editor, is that I don't have to do everything myself. And every moment of the day. So that's it's definitely good to be a part of a team for sure, like you guys are.
Yeah, I mean, for us, what's nice is we have McKenna, who is our backup producer. Um, Everything that we do is all driven by, the fans. We are fans of our own content. Like, we none of us get paid. None of us are making money doing this. This is just something we enjoy doing, and what we're getting out of it is experience for the most part, right? We're getting to talk to really amazing people. We're getting to learn things about what they're doing. Hopefully, share some of that information to help people get into those industries. Um, and McKenna is on a lot of the shows, but she doesn't produce every show. And I think it's amazing how many times we've been able to have her on shows and how amazing of an addition she's been to every show she's on. um, And same thing, goes for Gage. He's been sitting here producing, all these episodes, and it's so nice to have that balance of being able to know that there's someone else there. And thankfully for me, like I have a lot of backup hosts, but in particular, Caesar is kind of like the go-to backup host, and he's way better than I am. And like, I just shove him in the background. I'm like, nah, you're just staying in the back. You don't get the spotlight, boy, whenever I'm here, but don't tell him that, because he's actually never going to watch this episode. But thankfully, like, if I can't make an episode because life comes in and makes it so I can't, I know that there's someone competent who can navigate the show and get us to where we need to go, and thankfully doesn't ramble as much as I do.
About GTA for 20 minutes.
Exactly, 100%. And it's not about GTA. It's about the people that worked on it. It's about the people.
Yes, for sure.
Just got to keep the joke going at this point. Is there anything that you want to throw out there? Anything you want to promote? Anything that you want to let people know about that maybe it doesn't have enough eyes on it?
No, nothing really. Just hit up the YouTube. Just search me, NorZZa, on YouTube. Watch my stuff. Hit the subscribe button if you find it interesting. If you're looking for RPG content, it's probably a good place to be. But no, nothing in particular I want to promote. I did want to say though that I was watching an Andrea Rene episode, And you guys let her down about coffee. None of you guys seem to drink coffee. And when she was talking about black coffee is the way to go. All right. Like we grind our own coffee in this house. We have like a coffee machine. We grind our own beans and we drink black coffee in this house. And I was very disappointed to see how many people were on that episode. Everyone's like, what the hell is coffee? I was upset.
Hey, McKenna, can you do me a favor? Can you clip that out so that we can use that as a breakout and tag Andrea Rene?
Yeah, no. No problem. We're right down the time code.
She will love that. All right. McKenna, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything that the one cover and everything.
Yeah, I mean, we got into cat life, we got into outside content creation life, we got real deep on content creation life. We went on some fun tangents. I think that's a great place to end the episode. So, thank you for watching another episode of Out of Our League. If you liked what you saw, please hit that notification bell. Please subscribe. It'll be up on podcast services at some point when we start uploading them regularly again, because it's been a lot of work to get those things uploaded. Yeah, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.